Hi, I'd like to show you how to make reusable and individualizable components in Tumult Hype. This is a technique and code that was developed by Mark Hunt, who's a Tumult Hype user. We thought it was a breakthrough extension and wanted to demonstrate how to get started using it. Hype is a Mac app that lets you make animated and interactive HTML5 content. Here, I have a button that animates on mouse down and mouse up actions. When previewed in the browser, I can see the confetti effect live. Now, I'm pretty proud of this button effect, so I'd like to reuse it. In Hype, symbols are a way to create reusable content. Symbols are like a scene within a scene. There are elements, timelines, and animations. If I copy and paste this, I have two instances of the symbol. I can enter the instance to edit the symbol. Any changes I make to one are changes made to all. Here you can see the label text is the same in both elements, and yet they have their own animation state that runs independently. For something like a button, we'd probably want to individualize the element so it has a different label. In other software, you would use a structure called symbol overrides. Hype doesn't currently have this as a built-in feature, but Mark Hunt developed a clever way to create it within Hype's user interface. To get started, go to Mark Hunt's GitHub repository, linked below, and download the current version of the code. This has a symbol override.js file, and it needs to be added to the resources library of your Hype document. His method relies on using the additional HTML attributes in the identity inspector. Let's take a moment to go over how they're used. Additional HTML attributes have a key and a value in the table. The two items we need to manipulate is the symbol and each instance. In the symbol, the value represents the property, what you would like to override. This could be something like a background color in CSS, font size, or it could be an attribute on the HTML DOM element like inner HTML or the source attribute. It could even be something using the Hype API. On the instance, the value of the additional HTML attribute will represent the value you want for the property. So if the property were CSS background color, the value could be something like red or a green color. The HTML attribute key is the glue that describes how to hook up the value set on the instance with the property defined on the symbol. The key always starts with data, dash, and then a binding name. This binds them together in both places and is named however you'd like. Generally, it should reflect its function. Mark's code automatically figures out where these are the same, and then it applies the value of the instances to the property of the symbol. To set this up for something like a button, we can enter into the symbol and then add an additional HTML attribute for something called data-label. Again, label is entirely arbitrary. It's just the descriptive name I'm using for the key. The value is going to be the inner HTML property since that represents the text. On the instance itself, we will use that same data label key name. The value is what I want to have as its text. In this case, I want it to be a save button, so the label is save. With this button, we'll do the same key, data label, but this will be called cancel for the cancel button. Unfortunately, the symbol overrides are not reflected in Hype's user interface, but when we preview, we can see now the two instances have different names, but otherwise are backed by the same symbol. This can also work in a one-to-many setup where one key name can apply to multiple elements within the symbol. Inside this button we have confetti and want to override the color for each confetti element. I can set this up by adding the data tint key and have it use the background color CSS property. I can also put this on the button demonstrating multiple overrides. On the instance itself, I only need to set this one time to affect everything inside. I'll set it to be a green color. When I preview, I can see the button and all the confetti are now green. Cancel hasn't been overridden, so it's just using the default colors. Of course, this is easy to override, and so I'll go ahead and do that and use the CSS name red. Now when previewing, you can again see all the confetti is red, and the other one is still overridden to green. So that's the basics of Mark Hunt's symbol override project and how to use it with Tumult Hype. His GitHub page has full documentation and an interactive quick start guide. I only scratched the surface, so you should definitely check it out. There's lots of cool things you can do with syntax, specifically for explicitly using CSS, element attributes, or the Hype API. There's also ways to set animation timing and durations with Hype properties, and even get debug output. So I recommend going through all of this to get the most out of it. Overall, the need for overriding symbols is very common, and this makes it super easy. I expect this will be a heavily used add-on for Hype. Good luck on your projects, and happy animating!